Hello everyone. Another thank you to all the subscribers. Quite simply, I am nothing without you. Thank you so much for your support. If anyone is watching this and has not yet subscribed, please I ask you to do so. I very much appreciate your support. Thank you. Today we are heading back to Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is considering the reintroduction of the death penalty for terrorism-related crimes, following the recent bill that introduces community service as a punishment. This move is seen by some as necessary to protect citizens, but others argue for rehabilitation and judicial reforms as a more effective long-term solution toward peace and stability. Let us carry on. For those who might not know, Burkina Faso is a landlocked country in West Africa. This country has been in turmoil for about 6 years. The country had 2 military coups, which eventually toppled the elected government and plunged the nation into chaos. And not to mention terrorism from the likes of Al-Qaeda and ISIL. It is apparent all these terrorists are operating on behalf of some other country. Probably the whole idea is to cause maximum chaos, to frustrate the government. This is the pattern in the majority of African states. Frustrate and overpower. In Burkina Faso, the worsening insecurity in the country is fueling rumors of dissent against Burkina Faso's military regime. At the moment, Captain IBRAHIM Traoré is doing everything in his power to beat the terrorists, and all those bent on causing trouble. Let us continue. The latest coup was led and executed by Captain IBRAHIM Traoré. This drew international attention for his bold moves against France, the former colonial power, and in his fiery speech at a summit in Russia, he considered Africa a rival of the West. A lot of major improvements are happening in Burkina Faso. Captain IBRAHIM Traoré is a very busy man indeed, to say the least. Are we looking at a savior or a dictator? The captain needs and deserves protection. He is doing quite a lot to turn his country round for the better. If all African leaders were loyal to this man, Africa would be a great place to live and prosper. Captain IBRAHIM Traoré is heavily protected by his Russian allies. And from his great actions towards building a better and united Burkina Faso, we are looking at a man with a mission. IBRAHIM Traoré is a messianic figure for his supporters, and a paranoid autocrat for his detractors. To both, the self-proclaimed president remains an enigma. Burkina Faso's leader IBRAHIM Traoré has changed. He has become bold and confident. The military fatigues he wears are no longer earth-toned. With all that confidence, he should be wearing immaculate white every day, if you get my drift. This is no longer the young captain so few knew before the coup of September 30th, 2022. This is now the world's youngest head of state. This youngest head of state does worry the Americans and the Europeans from time to time because of his no-nonsense attitude. He is done with the Western world, and this is where Russia and the Chinese step in to fill the void. That said, Burkina Faso wants to reinstate a death penalty allegedly. Burkina Faso's military regime wants to reinstate a death penalty after the West African country abolished it in 2018, a government source said allegedly. The latest execution in Burkina Faso was in September 19, 1988. Reintroducing capital punishment to the penal code is being considered. It is up to the government to discuss it, then make a proposal to the Transitional Legislative Assembly for adoption. The date has not yet been decided upon or chosen for that matter. Justice Minister Rodrigue Bayala said after Parliament passed the bill introducing community service, that the issue of death penalty, which is being discussed, will be implemented in the draft criminal code. Bayala also said there could be further amendments to the criminal code to follow the vision and guidelines given by the head of state, Captain IBRAHIM Traoré, which seized power in a September 2022 coup. The government in Burkina Faso also passed a bill that included plans to ban homosexuality in the whole country. This is in line with a number of African states. Amnesty International has reported a surge in the use of death penalty on the African continent, saying in a statement in October that recorded executions more than tripled and recorded death sentences increased significantly by 66%. On the other hand, the rights group noted that 24 countries across sub-Saharan Africa have abolished the death penalty for all crimes, while 2 additional countries have abolished it for ordinary crimes only. Kenya and Zimbabwe currently have bills tabled to abolish the death penalty for all crimes, while Gambia has commenced a constitutional amendment process that will effectively abolish the death penalty. The first death sentence historically recorded occurred in the 16th century BC in Egypt, where the wrongdoer, a member of nobility, was accused of magic and ordered to take his own life. During this period, a non-nobility was usually deleted with an X. Let's continue. Now, there are several reasons and arguments for the death penalty, including some countries apply it as a deterrence. The threat of the death penalty deters potential murderers. Then there is retribution, the idea that a life should be taken for a life. How about rehabilitation? Some people have this idea that a death penalty can lead to some kind of spiritual rehabilitation. Take a look at prevention of reoffending. The idea that execution removes the danger of the offender to society. Capital punishment is often justified with the argument that by executing convicted murderers, we will deter would-be murderers from killing people. This claim has always been repeatedly discredited, and there is no evidence that the death penalty is any more effective in reducing crime than life imprisonment. Just look across the pond. The United States of America. They have executions, but it has not stopped murderers from deleting other people. The death penalty carries the inherent risk of executing an innocent person. Since 1973, at least 200 people who have been wrongly convicted and sentenced to delete in the United States have been exonerated. Let us put statistical studies and common sense aside. It is undeniable that the delete penalty saves some lives. Those of the prison guards and other inmates who would otherwise be deleted by murderers serving life sentences without parole, and of people who might otherwise encounter murderous escapees. So those of us who lean against the delete penalty must confront the very real possibility that abolishing it could lead to the violent deletes of unknown numbers of innocent women, and children. This is just a thought. Please leave a comment on what you think about the subject matter, please. Your comment will generate a conversation. I assume the reason that they are trying to bring this back in Burkina Faso is because they want to stop the people terrorizing the state and the nationals. Indeed, some criminals afraid to be caught are going to step back. Crime and criminality. Always remember, death is irreversible and mistakes do happen. It is always used within unfair justice system. It discriminates. It can be used as a political tool. If you have come this far, thank you so much. For people who agree with the death penalty, I suggest watching a documentary based on a true story. It is called 14 Days in May. There are no actors in this documentary. I do not want to spoil it for you, otherwise I would have said more.